Yo, what's up, dogs? I am back with a whole new thing, and it's called Yapping Time. And you might be sitting there going, what is Yapping Time? And you know what? I've sat there and thought about this for many, 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 many months, years even, that I just don't really like reviewing movies in the traditional sense of if it's good or bad or have like a very specific point of view that I want to battle about a movie or anything like that. I genuinely just like to yap and I just like to talk about the movie I saw. And sometimes I'll have some insight as a viewer would. You know what I'm saying? I take the approach of I'm just a normie watching a movie, a blue collar dude. I worked all week. I went and spent top dollar to go see a movie, and I just want to talk about it. You know, whether it be good or bad, because I genuinely try to go and see whatever I feel like seeing. You know what I'm saying? And that's what yapping time is. And I just want to yap about the Smashing Machine with my fellow audience, and you can yap back with me. And hopefully, in the future, when we do a little bit more stuff, you'll be able to. I'll stream it. Like, we'll do a yapping time where the comment section can actually be live and we could chat about the movie or yap about the movie that we're going to be yapping about, which is the Smashing Machine in the future. You know what I'm saying? That's the goal of this. So, and I just want to point out too, a lot of this comes from a podcast that I do every now and then. It's called Back of the Balcony, and it's a good little podcast. I enjoyed being a contributor to it. I'm often a guest on there, and all we genuinely do is pick a movie. We both watch it, and we just yap about it for an hour, just me and the host. And I really like that format a lot. And yeah, so I just wanted to do it for myself on my YouTube page. So here we are. We're calling it Yapping Time for now, and the name might change. I don't know, but this is where I'm feeling the most comfortable when it comes to talking about films. And yeah, let's start. I have my notes. I got a second screen over here, which is my other laptop. I don't know why I didn't think about it until now, but here we are. So let's get started. And as always, there's going to be a lot of spoilers ahead, okay? So be prepared for me to spoil this movie because that's just how it happens when we yap. But as always, let's start with a little introduction of how we went to see this movie. So it was a Friday night, 6:50. We bought top of the line ticket, opening night ticket, and it was me, Jake, and his cousin. And you know what? We didn't pre-order the tickets. We actually did walk-up business, good old-fashioned touchscreen business. And I was a little worried. Honestly, I was a little worried because I'm like, I haven't done walk-up business in forever. So I was like, oh man, this movie might be sold out. I was wrong. It was pretty empty. I think in total, I think it was like 10 tickets sold by the time the screen was up. You know what I'm saying? Like the film was running. I think there's only 10 people in there. It was very well unattended. You know what I'm saying? So we got in and we just got in there too. I had a coffee and we just got in right when the movie was starting. Um, and when we got situated in our seats, the movie was on underway. So I don't know if there was like a little something before the credit scene, but we jumped right into where Mark Kerr, played by The Rock, was in his first fight in where is it? San Pablo, San Paulo, Brazil in 1997. So that's where we started off with this movie, right? And when I first sat down and watched it, I was like, "Is this in film? Like good old fashioned, like 16 millimeter? You know what I'm saying?" And I was already on board as soon as I saw it, looking like a classic film, just grainy, and the blacks were black. You know what I'm saying? That inky color to it, and everything was just so nice. Like visually, I was just like, "Oh, I'm gonna fall in love with this movie." You know what I'm saying? Just because I love when a movie's shot on film. I know that's very nerdy, but there's just something about it. It's special and it just feels so real and lived in. And yeah, I really just loved the way it was looking right off the hop there. So we're into the fight, and it's Mark Kerr. And I want to say that I think this was, I don't know if this was his first time fighting or if he's fought many times prior to this, but we were catching up with Mark Kerr. I want to assume somewhere along the line in his career where he's already kind of known for being like a bad dude in the ring that's going to smash people in the head. And this is him in 1997 in a big tournament in Brazil and where he wins and he beats up many opponents because this tournament is, I can't remember the name of it. I think it's a bracket tournament. So when you win, you go on to the next round, on to the next round, and it all happens in one day. It's an old school format that they do not do anymore. And sometimes I kind of wish they would do it like just once a year, just because I think it's a really interesting format, but they don't do it anymore. It's an old school format. Actually, I should note here, I am not really well versed in UFC or MMA at all. Okay, so I'm coming into this as a guy who just like likes movies. Okay, so it's just things that I don't notice. That's on me because I don't know this world that well as maybe some of you do. But anyways, he wins the fight. He beats the crap out of his opponent, and in this section, we kind of get to see this like gentle giant, so to speak, right? In the ring, he's a beast of a man. He'll put you down and beat you up. But afterwards, he was really concerned over the opponent that he just beat up, right? And he was checking with the referee, like asking, "Is he okay? Is he going to be fine? Did I hurt him too much?" And he really has a genuine concern for his opponent, and that's just like showing off how Mark Kerr is not just a beast, right? Like there is a sensitive side to this guy, and I think like the first like I want to say maybe 30 minutes of this film really hangs out with Mark Kerr in aspect of like where he is, they show him as like a mean dude and yet a thought-provoking guy at the same time. Because after this fight, we go to 1997. No, is it 97 where he does the UFC 4? I think it is, and he fights in that one. And they have like an interview sequence there where he's talking with this guy and he's like giving his like a very thought-provoking, nuanced commentary on like fighting and stuff like that and being a champion and being a winner and not losing and stuff like that. And like it was just nice little dialogue bit. And then I can't remember if he fought, if we saw that fight. But anyways, it jumps around, right? Now we go to 1999. And that's the thing about this film. It jumps around a lot. Like it is an interesting sequence of events that you don't really get to linger too much in because it's just like bang, 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 bang. And I don't know if that's like just a Safdie style of presenting like a film to you or presenting the narration or narrative to you, but it feels like that's their way of like, I don't know if they're trying to build tension right now, but it feels like they're trying to. They're trying to build something. And I also would like to point here in the fight sequences, they play a lot of jazz music, and I forgot to write down the jazz artist. And it's interesting to me because when I'm watching this movie, I'm kind of thinking instantly, I'm thinking Rocky, first of all. I'm instantly thinking Rocky. And I'm thinking of like classic Bill Conti themes, right? You know the stuff I'm talking about, like the legendary theme songs of Rocky, that beautiful instrumental. And when I'm watching this one, I kind of want the same. I want a Bill Conti theme, so to speak, but they give me this weird jazz. And I don't know if I necessarily like the jazz in the context of the movie, but I like jazz in general, so I was kind of still enjoying it. But I'm like, I don't think this really builds up the swell of emotion that should be going on in the fight like it does in a Rocky movie. You know what I'm saying? But the thing about the jazz, when I'm listening to it, especially on the fight sequences where Mark Kerr loses, there's a certain like bumbliness to the jazz that kind of makes me feel like Mark Kerr is fumbling the ball in the ring. You know what I'm saying? And I think I kind of like that little nugget to it where I was like, that's kind of interesting to me. But you know what I'm saying? So there's things about that. I was just like, that's kind of interesting if that's what they were trying to do with the chaoticness of jazz is showing the chaoticness of what it's like to be in an actual fight inside the ring. Because the ring is also like the fight is like jazz too. You know, you got to go with the ebbs and flow of what the fighter that you're fighting against is throwing at you as well. And that's kind of like how jazz is too, right? It's like up to whoever's making the damn music, right? The vibe, right? So there's something about the jazz where it kind of works for me, but I'm also like, man, I really want that Bill Conti kind of da 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 da. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. So we have another series of events like so in we go to after the 97 fight, we go to 1999, and this is in the trailer where he has the conversation with that older woman in the hospital scene. And then this is again just showing off that Mark Kerr is not a bad dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, he's a gentle giant. He's talking to this old woman about the mixed martial arts and the violence of fighting. He's like the good and bad of it and stuff like that. And like even there's a little kid there and he does an autograph for him and stuff like that. So it's showing like he's a normal person who's happens to just be really good at fighting, right? And then after that, we go to a new scene, which is where we meet Dawn for the first time, right? And Dawn Staples is played by Emily Blunt, and we meet Dawn, who makes what does she do again? They're in the kitchen and she makes him a shake. I can't remember. Is the shake first or after? But it doesn't matter. This whole sequence of events really showcases the tension in the relationship between Dawn and Mark, and it's like very subtle because like it's very subtle because it is a codependency tension going on here because she makes him a milkshake, right? A protein shake, which is like has bananas in it, protein powder, blah blah blah, milk, whatever, right? And he drinks it, and like she makes it for him, very proud, like, "Hey, look what I did for you, honey! I got you your shake ready," because like that's how their relationship works. And he drinks it, and he's like, "How many bananas did you put in this?" Right? Like, just not even a thank you. You know what I'm saying? It's straight to you screwed up, right? How many bananas did you put in this? And I think she was like, "Oh, I put in two." He's like, "Oh, we're down to only one banana now." And like, "What milk are you using?" I think she's like, "Oh, 2%." He's like, "Oh, we're using whole milk now. Didn't you? Why didn't you do that?" And like, it's very like I want to say maybe like condescending, the tone of voice, or like very disrespectful between Mark Kerr specifically, like shooting her down. And she's like, "Oh, I didn't know, honey." And like, he's like just like very dismissive of her, also trying to apologize for it. And he's remaking the shake, and he's kind of like he's a little frustrated that he has to remake it because he's wasting product, right? Like protein powder and all that stuff. And like you could see that, and he's like, That's fine. I'll just make it myself." And everything is like, and like it's like he's trying to recover from being a dick, right? And he's like, "It's okay." And then when he sits down on the couch, and I can't remember the couch sequence was first or not, but when he sits down on the couch, the cat is on the couch with Dawn, and Dawn's like playing with the cat, having a good time, and Mark's kind of just like, "Can you get the cat off the couch?" Like, he's like very confrontational, right? He's like, "Get the cat off the couch. I've told you 100 times. Put the cat on the ground." He ruins everything. He claws into the stuff, and she's like, "Oh, it's just a cat, Mark. Like, it's okay." Like, and all this stuff, and then like he puts the cat down, and like it hisses at him and stuff. And then like she picks the cat up and she's like, "It's okay if the cat can sit on me and then I can sit on the couch." And it was like a compromise, right? And like he looks so disappointed, like, "Oh, screw this cat." And then eventually, like, he has a moment where he does actually apologize to Dawn for like, "Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't tell you. I should have told you that we changed the bananas and stuff like that." But it's this very weird scene between them of how this relationship is, right? Where it's very like codependency. Like, Mark Kerr really relies on Dawn to make sure the functionality of his world is running smoothly so he can function in the training and in the ring. And in turn, her payment is such this lavish life, so to speak, right? You know what I'm saying? And she gets to have the parties, the car, the house, and all that stuff. And that's kind of what they're trying to paint here. And when one thing goes out of whack, things crumble between the two. And they even show like a very like montagey sequence of them like training at the gym, and they're training together, and she's pushing Mark, like motivating him. There's a little friskiness inside the gym and stuff like that when she's stretching him out, and I mean that, like, stretching. And so like they show like this little lovey-dovey kind of relationship as well amongst the codependency that is looming in the background. You know what I'm saying? Just trouble sees ahead, so to speak. So then we have a scene where I can't remember if what happens, but he's in his like little office room, and there's some old school like dance music being played from I can't even remember the name of the song right now, but it's an old school dance song. It's a good song too. I wish I wrote it down because I have it in my on my playlist, right? And so he's just sitting in his office, and it's actually really good audio manipulation that they do to it too, because it's being played in the one room, so you hear it, and then when he goes into like the hallway, the music gets a little bit louder. But then when he goes into a farther away room, the music gets a little bit lower, and it's really nice. I just thought I was like, hey, that's smart. You know what I'm saying? And he finds his this little brown box that I think has like drugs in it, right? And it does have to. No, I think there's drugs in it. It is drugs, but I couldn't read the label because honestly, I need glasses. So I couldn't read the label, and I'm like, "Is that steroids?" And then he goes and he takes it, and he takes it into the washroom, and he shoots up a little something. So I don't think it was steroids. I think it was like actually like pain medication, and so it's just the first iteration that we actually see him taking pain meds. And showing that he might be on, like he needs this stuff, right? So then after that we go to another event, like another event, like another scene. Like it's always just scene, scene, scene. So now we fast forward to him in Japan. And I still think we're in like 1999 or 19, yeah, we're still in the 90s at this point in time. And he's going to be doing fighting in the Pride Championship, Pride 7, I believe it is. And what does he do here again? Oh yeah, that's right. So I know I have my notes here, but I'm also trying to go off my memory as well, because my notes I don't really look at them. I just kind of like they're just cool placeholders. So he sits down with the Japanese commissioner or management, or maybe his manager or representation or talent agent or something like that. And he's discussing the finances because they're not going to renew his contract. So he's kind of just like, what's going on here? You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to pay me for me to fight there, and they're not going to renew his contract for the rest of this tournament. I think that's like you get this one fight, but then after this, we're not going to renew you. So even if he wins, and honestly a little confused at this part, because it's like if he wins, he moves on to the next round, but they're not going to pay him, and he's still going to fight. But like, there's no contract in the future for him for the next couple of fights ahead if he wins here. And this part of the movie, I was sitting there, I'm like, I think there's some cahoots here because this movie doesn't really showcase Mark Kerr as like a real bad dude of a fighter. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't know. I don't know in real life how much of a menace this guy was, and I don't know if like the Japanese entertainment business was really afraid of Mark Kerr and his ability to just like smash their fighters. You know what I'm saying? So I kind of felt there was some cahoots brewing here with this Japanese organization to hopefully cost Mark Kerr the match and not let him move forward because they don't want to pay this guy anymore. And it's a really interesting scene where they're kind of just like they are saying like no more money, no more fight. This is it for you, right? And it's like I'm hearing what they're saying. Mark Kerr isn't. And so the next little sequence of events is like they have an interview. The Pride organization has this interview with the group of everybody, and then going over the new rules of what is going on, right? Like, no more head smashes, no more knees to the head, stuff like that. And honestly, that's a funny scene because they have these like two little Japanese dudes come out and like show the movements that can't be done, and like I laughed a little bit because it's just comical. You're like, that's weird, but it's what was done. So yeah, so they go over the rules and stuff like that. And then we have the next sequence of events, which is Dawn shows up in Japan. Is that next or is that after? No, I think it's after because there's a sequence after. I think it goes, if I remember, it's after that we have a scene with Mark shopping in Japan, and he buys a very beautiful bowl that he thinks is really pretty, and he buys some, I think some like really colorful fabric for Dawn, and like he's like it's an expensive item to him, and he's like I'm buying this for her because she does, I genuinely think he loves her, but I think by the way he shows his love and affection to her is by buying her gifts, right? And not actually telling her and like telling her that he loves her. He's more of a gift lover. Like, here, I bought you this cool thing. You know what I'm saying? So he does that. And then we get the scene where Dawn shows up in Japan, And she's looking hot. I gotta be blunt with you guys right here. No pun intended. Emily Blunt is looking amazing in this movie. Like she's got that old school '90s look, and she just looks beautiful. Every scene she's in, I'm just like, oh my god, you're gorgeous. She just is. She's a smoke show in this movie. I can't deny that. So there's this sequence between her and Mark in the locker room. They have a little fight. Was it a fight again? Uh, 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 Yes, this I had it written down. So they have another fight in the locker room. She wasn't really invited. Like she was invited to come to Japan by Mark Kerr, but I don't think anyone wanted her in the back room, right? Oh, and I forgot to mention this is where we're introduced to Mark Coleman, who's played by Ryan Bader. And I was recently told that this Ryan Bader fella is an actual UFC MMA fighting guy. And honestly, if no one ever told me that, I would have just assumed that the Safety Bros just found a dude who could act. Like this guy's really good at it for playing this role. Like it was just like, oh, this guy just I don't know who this guy is. This is his first movie. I'm impressed. Like he really was like Mark Coleman. I don't even know who Mark Coleman is in real life, but I felt like this is the guy. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. I really liked him, and I just thought this is great. And so Mark Coleman is Mark Kerr's. I would say, I guess they're probably really good friends, best friends to some degree, and they used to train together. They would fight, like would I think they also maybe went to school together at some point in time on the wrestling team. So they're long time friends, right? And in this time, the Mark Coleman comes to Japan and is there to support Mark Kerr. You know what I'm saying? And in this moment too, when Dawn shows up, Mark is kind of like, "Eek, she's here." You know what I'm saying? And this is a theme throughout the movie where they're like everyone that's around Mark Kerr always looks at Dawn as such a negative, right? And so when Dawn does show up, they have an argument between Mark and Dawn. They have this like little bit of an argument, and it's a pretty big deal, right? Because like she brings this weird negative aura to her, and it's the power of Emily Blunt. I have to say, like, there's moments where you're just like, man, Dawn is such a like a bitch. You know what I'm saying? And there's moments where you're also like, man, Dawn is such a sweetheart. You know? And I just really liked what Emily Blunt was bringing to this character. She plays this role really well because there's a certain condensation. I don't think that's the right word, but there's a certain thing about this character that makes you just not like her, but also like her. It's really weird. She's really the center of attention, and she really sucks away any of the momentum in the room sometimes when she's with Mark, you know, and you can kind of see it where it's like it's all about me, and she shows up super dressed out, you know what I'm saying? It's like look at me, and really everyone's there to focus on Mark and his ability to win this fight, you know, and like don't get in his head, but she does. She always seems to get in his head. And in this instance in particular, she gets into his head before the fight. And when he actually has the fight against, I should have wrote the guy's name down, Igor, he loses, right? And in the fight, he does lose. He gets a couple good fight punches in, but he gets taken down to the ground and takes a series of knee blows to the head, which is an illegal maneuver due to the new rules that Pride said prior to. And so after the fight was ruled over, like I guess it would be like he wasn't knocked out or anything like that, but he couldn't defend himself anymore. So the referee stopped the fight, and Mark Kerr gets up and he's like, "Ref, he was hitting me on the head with his knee. That's an illegal maneuver." Like he was vocally complaining about this, and then even later on, after the fight, he confronts, I want to say, the commissioners or maybe the people who run the thing, and he was saying like, "Hey, this was an illegal maneuver that was done to me. You guys said it's not in the fight. Like, this can't be. I need to keep fighting. Like, we got to do something about this." And he was complaining very vocally in front of these people. And they kind of like shushed it away, like, kind of like, no, like, we'll deal with it, but not right now. And I'm like, man, the cahoots level is high here. Right. And so, later, like it's not really later, but afterwards, Mark is in the back in the change room. He's getting iced and stuff. He's with Dawn, and Dawn and him have another argument, right? And it's about like how Dawn can't really relate to what happens in the ring. and like all the culmination of all the hard work and everything that goes on, like she can't relate to it, and she almost kind of mockingly like mocks him in a sense openly, you know what I'm saying? And she even like has like this real snicker of a laugh, like it's just like the side laugh kind of thing. And you kind of feel for Mark because he just got beaten up, and he's having this really poorly timed conversation with his girlfriend about the fight and losing and stuff. And this is his first time losing too. So he's got a lot of emotions going on. And she's just really like not being that supportive, but also I kind of feel like she doesn't know how to be supportive in this scenario because it's the first time Mark's ever lost. So she's never had to deal with this type of emotion before either. So it's also like brand new world for her. You know what I'm saying? And she doesn't know what to do because all Mark does is win, right? So this is a new maybe emotion for her to even deal with. She's never seen him lost. She's never seen him in this state of mind before, and she doesn't know how to deal with failure either, or even losing. She's never seen it before. You know what I'm saying? So there's layers going on here, and then the conversation kind of ends abruptly because Igor shows up to talk to Mark. Oh no, actually, sorry. The commissioner shows up first and cuts the conversation off and talks to Mark about that it will be a no contest, that the head attack was an illegal maneuver due to the new rules. So he's not kicked out of the tournament, and he's allowed to carry on to the next round. I believe is kind of how the ruling worked, and he was very happy that it was ruled as no contest. But he's also like kind of disappointed because he wants the win. You know what I'm saying? He's like, no contest isn't really sitting well with him, and it's still like irking him. And then like he's happy that he gets to go on and still fight in the competition, right? But still, it irks him that it's no contest and that he doesn't have the actual win. When realistically, he probably should have got the win because it should have been disqualification due to the illegal maneuvering. But it's kind of just swept aside because Igor shows up and they have this conversation between the two of them, like just fighters, just jabbing at each other, And then he wants to have Mark asks to have a picture with Igor, and he tells Dawn to take the photo, and Dawn takes the photo, but she's sad, like there's a tear coming down her eye because she wasn't included in the photo. Maybe I don't know. Right, you could sit there and be like, "Oh, this is her ego attacking a little bit," or she feels like maybe she's kind of just feeling like no one here cares about me, like I'm just a fly on the wall, like no one cares. This isn't, I don't know, there's things you could look at and interpret it, because you could sit there and be like, oh, this is just her ego going off and talk, like going off, right? Like, why am I not in the photo, right? You know what I'm saying? Why I should be in the photo, I'm here, right? Like, there could be a little bit of that in there. Or she's still just genuinely upset about the conversation that they had prior to this, and there was no resolution to it because the commissioner shows up, Igor comes up, and then that's that. Now on to the next scene, right? And as like I said, it's the scene. So before he leaves for America, Mark stops at, I guess, like a pharmaceutical that's at the Pride event, right? Like some kind of doctor who's giving him meds. And Mark wants something a little heavier than what they have. And he's asking for, like, do you have a higher dosage for the pain that I'm in? And the doctor won't give it to him. And it's also nice. It's a comical scene, right? It's a little comical because he's very confused that he can't get the drugs that he wants, but they're going to give him Advil, and he's like, "Okay, I'll take the Advil," right? And he's like, "Don, why don't you take some Advil too? They're giving them away for like their candy here." And so he takes them, right? Like, but it's not going to be enough. And when he gets to America, we do have a scene where he's on the phone to his doctor. Um, to write him a script for Vicodin, but he doesn't want the tablet Vicodin. Like, I don't know much about Vicodin. I've never taken it. So he doesn't want the tablet form of Vicodin. So I guess like what a Tylenol would be, but he wants a liquid form because it will. He doesn't say that it'll hit harder, but his whole excuse was like it. The tablet form really upsets his stomach, unlike the Vicodin stuff. And he asks for a lot of it, and he's like, "Hey, I don't give me all the stuff too, like the needles and stuff like that too, because you don't want me coming down every single day to bug the doctor because of my pain." And they all like, "Yeah, here you go," right? So then once he gets the Vicodin that he wants, right? We have a scene where he is just drugged out, right, like just doped out, and he's just like a zombie, so to speak, in his couch. He's in his robe. He looks disheveled. It looks like he hasn't worked out. He's not eating right. You know what I'm saying? Like he just looks like a shell of a man, so to speak. But it's I don't think it's necessarily the because he lost for the first time. Like I'm sure that is a part of that, but there's also like he might be in serious pain, but also an addiction is happening, and he's just over not he's taking too much, right? He hasn't gotten to the overdose level yet. And in this sequence, he's still relatively cognitive and able to have a conversation with Dawn because Dawn starts to have an argument with him. And it's literally about you, like, look at you, you're a slob. The drugs are taking over. You are not in control. And she has genuine concern for him, right? Like, there is genuine concern for him. And she what does she do? She just like drives him to the point. That's right, because he loses it because he thinks he is in control. That's right. And when he loses it, like he just tears apart the living room. He rips off the door to the kitchen, like just breaks it in half. And like she's scared. Like she's really scared about what's going on. And he is like trying to tell her like he's in control, but he's also kind of losing control. And there's a sequence where like she hugs him a little bit, like he knows he's going to try and do better. Like he's sorry for what he just did, his outburst, and she tries to console him and hug him, but she knows it's not going to help, right? Like she knows she's in kind of danger in a certain aspect, and you can see that when she holds him in the kitchen there. And then we have a sequence later where it's Mark Coleman, and this is the thing I liked about the sequence actually. So Mark Coleman, we get to spend a little bit of time with him and his family, right? And I really like this part because Mark Coleman is showing like a different aspect of life, right? His life, he's an older man. He has a wife. He has a child, a daughter, younger daughter. We'll say she's like 6. He has another kid, like a baby, and he's living this family life, and it's very happy. It's very bright, and actually, if you look at the colors too, right? His house is just bathed in like white. It's clean. It's very modern. You know what I'm saying? And he's having a fun time with his family. His wife's there with the baby, and he's play fighting with his little daughter, and he's just living like an all-around family life. And then it's the contrast to where Mark Curran, the way he's living, it's very dark, it's very old school. It actually has a very old 90s vibe to it because it's like wood paneling and stuff like that, and it's just very dark and very almost dingy in a sense, but it's like there's poor, like there's just two visual elements going on here. It's just really nice to see because like Mark Kerr is going down a downward spiral with the drugs and stuff and the environment around him, right? And the stuff going on with Dawn. And Mark Coleman's living this great life. You know, he's a family man having a good time, you know, and it's a really nice contrast, this little scene, because then Dawn calls Mark Coleman and is like, dude, Mark Kerr's overdosed on the drugs. I need you to come here and help me big time. I don't know what to do. And Coleman's like, dude, call the doctors, call the hospital, get him to the hospital like right away, like get him an ambulance, help. I'll be in Arizona as soon as I can. And that's what happens, right? Like that's the whole of that series of events happens, and we have Mark Kerr in the hospital. Coleman shows up. He speaks to Dong real quick, and he goes right in and sits down beside Kerr. And then Kerr and Coleman share this really nice scene together, where Kerr is just kind of like I want to just say like bluffing, kind of talking shit a little bit, you know what I'm saying? But Coleman sees right through it because they are friends and they have a genuine conversation like, hey man, you really need to get through this. Like, we love you. You have friends, you have family, like people care about you and we need you. We don't want you to be going down this dark path and leaving us too soon. And it's a really heartfelt moment. And even like you see a little weakness in Mark Kerr because he even realizes like he's gone so far downhill that even he feels embarrassed in front of his friend Mark, right? And so even then, well, I gotta open up my natural lighting a little bit here. So even then, he's kind of like, um, he cries. That's right. He cries in front of Coleman, and you can look at that scene where you're kind of like Dwayne Johnson doesn't know how to cry on camera. You could say that because he bunches up all the blankets and puts it in front of his face, and he's breaking down with tears and stuff. But I kind of looked at it more like this is a man who's never been this way before. He's never had to show this type of emotion in front of his friends before, and showing this level of weakness to him, to anyone, is sort of embarrassing to him, and he doesn't want anyone to see it because he's embarrassed of himself, and he's also just it's just many because he's really embarrassed of himself and how far the drugs have really taken a toll on his life and his livelihood, and he's embarrassed, and that's why he's hiding his tears. He doesn't know how to show this type of emotion in front of his friends and Dawn, right? So it's like there's a certain level to it, and I appreciated it, but I could see people like crapping on The Rock, like, well, you can't act, you can't cry, right? But I thought there's more to it than that. And he agrees with Mark. He's like, um, I will quit the drugs and go into rehab. And there's a scene where I think it's shortly after this we have, yeah, I think shortly after this he gets out of the hospital and he goes through his house and grabs all the drugs and throws them all in a bag and throws them in the trash and like in like a dumpster box somewhere. Like he drives somewhere and throws them all away. And while that's happening, we have Mark Coleman out in Japan. Yeah, he's in Japan doing his preliminary fights for the Pride competition, and it's not really clear. Again, there's certain things in this movie that aren't actually clear because of the sequence of events of everything, where you're like, well, why is this happening, right? Like that's what I thought. I was like, why is he in this competition all of a sudden? I thought he was like a trainer slash friend to Mark Kerr, and I thought that's what his role in this movie was going to be. But it turns out he is also fighting in this competition. He has one of the tournament's bracket slots, and he goes on to win his preliminary match, and the narrative behind him is like he's an older man, he still has a little bit left in the tank, and can he win the whole thing, you know what I'm saying? And this is happening. Mark finishes his rehab. Mark Kerr finishes his rehab, and he comes out of the clinic, the rehab clinic, and he's met with Dawn. She gives him a big hug, and honestly, this sequence when Mark Kerr comes out of the hospital or the rehab facility, he's wearing a white shirt. He has a cross on, jeans. He looks huge. Like Dwayne, the Rock Johnson, looks like he tacked on massive mass while being in rehab. I couldn't believe it because I was like, "Holy crap, this dude got bigger!" Like I don't know how he did. Like, and I mean like muscular bigger, not like he got a gut from like eating good in the rehab center or anything like that, and he wasn't training. He actually looks like he's been just doing push-ups and like bulking up on steroids. Like he looks so huge. I couldn't believe it. And there's a scene in this movie where they're driving away in a little red, like I thought it was a Miata, but I don't think that's what it is. But it's a little red car. It has a a sun, what is that? Hatchback, sunroof, whatever. The thingy, the thingy opens up, and what is that? I don't even know. He's in the car in the passenger side, and he takes up like the entire car, and she. I'm like, is in this she's driving and she looks so tiny next to the Rock, who's like literally like he's like sitting like this in the car, like just like I own this whole thing. It's so comical that I laughed. I think I was the only one that laughed in the theater. I know I stopped. Like I leaned over to Jake and I was like, "This looks ridiculous." You know what I'm saying? Because he's so freaking big. Like he's so big. And then so now we have a sequence of a series of events between Dawn and Mark, and Dawn goes out on a friend, like out with a friend, and talks about Mark's sobriety and stuff like that. But we have a series of events, and the one sequence of events is which one is it, the cactus scene first? I think the cactus scene. So I guess while Mark was in rehab, he told Dawn to take care of his cactus or cacti, and she doesn't cut off one of the heads. I don't know much about cactus, okay, but she doesn't cut off one of the heads, and he's kind of like, "Why didn't you do the stuff I asked you to do when I'm busy in rehab?" And he's like really tense, like he's on edge, like you could tell, like being in the real world. It's getting to him, and like being sober and being like pretty much yeah, being sober, right? It's like I don't think he knows how to deal with it, so he takes out a lot of his frustrations on Dawn, and Dawn's just kind of like nonchalant flippant with it, like whatever, man, like who cares, like whatever, it will fix it, we can do this. And he's very on edge. It's like, well, this should have been done while I was gone. And so he's taking care of this cacti thing. He's got the little glove out. And he asks for the knife from her because she has sliced apples out, and she gives him the knife. And like the way it's kind of cut, you're thinking to yourself, like this I was, I'm like, oh no, is Mark Kerr going to stab her now? Like, is this the point where she's getting stabbed and murdered? Because that's what it kind of felt like. The tension was building, and she even says to him and it's a really funny dialogue between the two, because she's like, oh, you'd be such a great father. And he just has this whole like breakdown of like, why would you say that to me? Like I've told you so many times I don't want to be a father right now. It's not good for us. And it's like it's really genuine. And I kind of thought it was just funny the way it was being taught, like because he's so calm. Like the way the Mark Kerr talks in this movie, like the way Dwayne Johnson portrays it, and I'm curious if that's how he really sounds in real life. But he has this like really gentle voice, this really calm voice, and it's sometimes it comes across a little comical the way certain dialogue beats are delivered. And I just thought like the way he was talking, it made me laugh a little bit because like he's annoyed, but he's also trying to be genuinely nice to Dawn about like, thank you for calling me a good father, but also like f off. You know what I'm saying? Now is not the time for us to do this. It's just a funny series of events in my opinion. I just thought it was funny the way they were talking about it, and she gets frustrated with it, and then like there's leaves in the pool. He's like, "Oh, why did she get the leaves in the pool?" He's just like, I'll just do it right now, right? And it's just like these things that are happening, and she can't handle it. She can't handle the sobriety stuff. And there's another scene. They're in the kitchen together, and he's like making his protein shake the way he likes it, right? He's doing it, but she has a headache, and so she gets the Advil or Tylenol out, right? She's shaking the bottle in front of him and like popping it and like taking out the pills, and he's just like, "Could you please not do that in front of me?" It's a good series of events and good dialogue here because it is funny actually because he's like, I'm sober right now, I'm going through these things and stuff, and like you're just tempting me. And she's like, whatever, man. Like you can deal with it, I'm just having a headache. And then he calls his sponsor up on the phone, and then this good just silly dialogue between them, and she's yelling at him now, and he's like on his sponsor's like, do you hear this? Do you hear what I have to deal with right now? And the sponsor's like, yeah, I can hear that. And it's just funny. Hold on, I'm opening my curtain a little bit more. And it's just a funny little scene, but it's building up though. Like there's really like you're laughing because it's humorous, the way the whole conversation is happening, but the dialogue is really building in tension, and the events that are going on around is building in tension because like even she's had enough, and she's like packing a bag and like going to leave, and she smashes the pot that he bought her in Japan and throws it down the stairwell and smashes everywhere before she leaves. And when that happened too, honestly, when that happened, the people that were in the audience all were like, "Oh no!" Like there was an audible, "Oh, what?" Like, and like it was like, "Oh man, that like actually hit the audience." We all got into that in a little bit. So after that happens, she walks out, leaves. So she's gone out of his life, and Mark comes back to Japan, and it's for a blip of a second, because like he goes there to have this little press conference, and he talks to pretty much a reporter or the audience that's there that's recording this, and he like makes like a little bit of a like a plea or something. What the plea is not right. He pretty much announces to the Japanese fans that he's very sorry that he wasn't able to fight in the tournament that Mark Coleman was just in, and he had to pass on that one because of this personal life were affecting him, and he had to go to rehab and stuff like that. And his goal is to come back to the next Pride competition to win and win back the Japanese fans. That's his whole like thing right there. And then it cuts, right? It cuts to Mark Kerr in, it says like, I think we're back in California and it's the year 2000, and this is where he starts training with Boz Rutan, who plays himself as Boz, and they're just going through a lot of training beats right now. And this is like we're getting prepared for this like big tournament that's coming up, and we have Mark Kerr, who's sober now, and he's not doing any drugs. He's training really hard. He wants to win this competition. If you win $200,000 American. That's a lot of big money in the year 2000. So he's training. He's determined. He's drug free, and it's a good sequence of events, right? And then there's a little part where Boss When he's training him on some new techniques, he injures himself, like a tendon or like some kind of tendonitis like happens in his wrist or arm, and Kerr is like, I got something for you, and he goes to his old locker and pulls out the drugs, which is Vicodin, and he injects it into Boss, and he even says he's like, oh, these are really this is old, like these are old drugs. It should still do the trick, and then he helps Boss. Boss has a little comical moment, kind of takes you out a little bit if you're like, it's a little silly moment, and then Kerr actually throws the drugs out, like he's done with the drugs. It's really good, and so they continue the training. They go on to Japan, right? Yeah, they go to Japan, and now there's a nice little moment between Mark Coleman and Mark Kerr before they go through their preliminary fights in this or their bracket fights. They have a moment where they go out and they're still friends, right? They kind of set it up where Mark Kerr is on the one bracket and Mark Coleman is in the other bracket, and the idea is the two of them will meet in the finals and fight each other for the first time. And so before that happens, they have this little moment together in the change rooms, and then they go outside and sign autographs together to be like, "Hey, let's just live in this moment while we're friends." You know what I'm saying? Like we're going to be friends today, but in a couple days we're going to be enemies inside the ring, and even afterwards we're still going to be friends. But now let's be like, you know what I'm saying? They're trying to build this nice like friends versus like friends in the finals, and I was into it. I was like, "Oh, is this where we're going?" Because honestly, I don't know much about this dude and his history. I never watched the documentary either. So we have that little moment, and then we get on to the actual fights. And Coleman wins his round, and Kerr wins his round, and they both meet in the ring, and they're like celebrating their victories, and they are talking to each other, where they're kind of like, okay, like, hey, we are gonna, we're gonna meet each other in the ring. We knew this day would come, and they're happy. Like they are friends right now. Like they're happy. They're they're both both victorious, and they're ready to fight for this big prize, right? And then we go, and like it just cuts. Like I swear, this movie jumps around a lot. It just does. It's always a sequence of events, and then we go back to California, right, to train some more. And then when he's training with Boz, Dawn shows up, and Dawn shows up with a gift to give to Mark Kerr, which is the bowl repaired, and she crazy glued it together. And they have like a little heartfelt moment together. Like she says a little dialogue about what the bowl represents in their relationship and how it's put back together and it's supposed to be stronger and stuff like that. And like Mark is like feeling, I guess he's feeling the like everything's going to be good, right? What like this terms of endearment, this show of love that the relationship can be fixed. Like it impacts Mark, and so he decides to leave Boz and go and train back home in Arizona with Dawn. Right, and Boz thinks this is a bad idea, by the way, because like they're a week out from the big fight, and he just thinks this is bad timing because like right now Mark Kerr is very focused and very locked in on winning this this final fight, right? And with the introduction of Dawn coming back, like everyone who knows Dawn knows she's trouble, and she gets into Kerr's head and is kind of like the catalyst to his downfall for every loss, it seems like. And that's kind of how this movie's building this up, right? But realistically, both these two people, Kerr and Dawn, are not good for each other. They are oil and water, and the codependency stuff. It's just like, man, they suck together. They should not be together. Um, yeah. So they go back to home in Arizona. He's not training anymore. At least they don't show us any training montages. But they're planning a big party, and because of the victory, right? And this is Dawn's big thing. She's getting everything ready, and we do see Kerr is drinking some booze, right? And in my mind, I'm like, oh no, he's drinking booze. That means he's not sober anymore, right? Because like usually when you're in like AA or rehab or something, like I've never been in it, but I've known people who are in it, and once you go through it, you kind of cut out everything because they're always afraid of relapsing, and the booze could potentially relapse you to Vicodin and stuff like that, or drugs, right? So I was like, oh no, he's drinking booze right now. That's not a good thing. And she even mentions it because they have a fight, and it's a big fight, like a really, really big fight. And the sequence of events that goes on in here and the dialogue that is happening, I honestly have to say, in this particular scene, when they are in the living room bouncing off each other with dialogue, it kind of came across a little soap opery to me. And maybe it's just the way it was cut and edited in it just came across very soap opery. The whole thing came across very soap opery. And because like after she they have this big fight, in during the fight he's like, I need you to pack a bag, I need you to go, you're not coming to Japan with me. I need to focus, and you can't come with me. And I think the whole catalyst of the fight was like, she was listening to his answering machine messages from like Boss and I think Coleman, who were like telling him like, you know, like don't bring Dawn kind of thing. And we don't see that sequence of like we don't see those messages, right? And or those conversations. I can't remember. I don't think we do. And what was I gonna say? Yeah, I don't think we saw those events. I can't remember if we saw them or not. But she blows up about it because she wants to go to Japan, and she's like, "We're in this together. I do all this for you, the codependency stuff." And like Mark's like, "Well, I need to win so you can have all this stuff." And that's a big part of the fight. Is like I provide for all this stuff so you can do what you do, and it's a big fight. And she gets to the point where she goes to kill herself once with a gun. Like she goes to the safe, you hear her unlock it, and he's like, "Oh no, she's going to shoot herself!" And he runs in there, knocks the gun out of her hand, and you see a clear scene where she puts the gun to her head. And it's like, "Oh my god, is she actually going to kill herself?" I don't know the story, so I'm like, "Oh, she's killing herself? That's crazy!" And she doesn't. And then she runs into the washroom, locks the door, and she's searching for pills. She's going to OD on pills. She's trying to take as many pills as she can, right? And Kurt knocks down the door, smacks the pills out of her hands, grabs her, takes her to the floor, and like just holds her, like just hugs her and holds her, and is like tries to calm her down and stuff. And it's like a really tense moment. It's really well done. And she's falling apart. He's trying to hold it together, and you know it's affecting him, and like it's affecting everything. Is just like it all comes to this peak, right? It all this whole relationship comes to this freaking peak, and it's beautiful. And the cops show up, and they take her away because she tried to kill herself, and now Dawn is gone. She's out of the picture. We don't see Dawn ever again. Do we? No, I can't remember. I don't think we see her again because now after that sequence, we're back in Japan. Yeah, we're back in Japan, and it's fight time, right? Yeah. That's pretty much it. We go back to Japan now, and it's the finals. Well, not the finals. It's round one, and then then the finals. So it's the semifinals and then finals. So we have Coleman. He wins his fight, and then we have Kerr, and this is a big fight. So Kerr fights. I can't remember the guy's name. I should have wrote it down, and he loses the fight. Yeah, he loses the fight. I totally forgot to mention the one scene after the rehab. Dang it. I just remembered it because there's a good scene after the rehab too. That when he comes out of the rehab, that Dawn and Mark like they go like they're like a very lovey-dovey couple again because like they go to this fair and they're having a good time together, and she wants to go on the gravitron, that's right, and he doesn't want to go on the gravitron, and she's trying to egg him on. Like they're still like they're showing like there's this like they're having a good relationship together, but little things set them off, and they're so minute, right? And it's just like any moment, this is a powder keg. And I totally forgot about that. And she goes on the Gravitron alone, and she's having a fun time alone on the Gravitron. I think it's an important scene. And he's just sitting outside alone, right? With himself. Yeah, very solitude moment. I've totally forgot about that scene, but that was a good scene. And so, anyways, back to Japan. So Mark Coleman wins his round, moves on to the next round. Then Kerr's up to do his thing, and he gets in the ring and he's fighting, and he's doing pretty good. But then it all falls apart for him. Like he falls, like he takes a shot in the head, he gets to the ground, they knee him, and then he can't move. Like he's frozen, and then he's frozen in time, so to speak. Like he's getting flooded with all these memories of like Dawn and the bad stuff that Dawn did, and the good stuff that Coleman did, and his friends like Boz and stuff like that, but he can't get up. He's like says he's frozen in time when in the one scene, and he loses. There's nothing he can do. He gets knocked out actually, and there's nothing you do. He loses, and he doesn't move on to the next round. And I was kind of bummed because I was like, man, I thought we were going to get Kerr versus Coleman. Like I thought that's what the whole point of this movie was going to build up to, was the trials and tribulations of Kerr, but he still fights his friend. And honestly, I thought he was going to maybe even win the whole thing. It's about this guy, but he loses, right? And then we have the scene at the end where before like Kerr goes out to fight, they talk for a minute, and Coleman's like, sorry, yeah, Coleman comes to the back, and Kerr is like, hey, it's all up to you now to bring it home. You know what I'm saying? Bring that money home, and they share a really good moment there, and like he's still very supportive. Kerr's very supportive of his friend, even though he can't. He lost his fight, and he's losing the mental fight too, so to speak. But he shows a good face in front of Coleman. Is like, I'm still like, we're still friends. I hope you win this, and I'm rooting for you. I have to get these stitches, and so then we get a sequence of Coleman in the final fight. I think it's against Igor. Yeah, I think it was against Igor again. And Coleman is like winning the fight. Kerr is getting his stitches done, and we have the final scene where Coleman wins everything. He wins the tournament. He wins the trophy. He wins the prize money, and Kerr is in the shower alone with nobody, no trainer, no nothing. He's just in the shower, and he's just sitting in the shower, and you see this him just smiling, kind of just laughing at the whole thing, right? Like I almost wonder. I need to rewatch it again because I'm like, does he hear the fight? Because I don't think he's watching the fight. I can't remember if there was a TV near the shower or anything like that, so he could see his friend win. But I think maybe he could hear the audio from the crowd and the victory and stuff like that. But I'd have to rewatch it to confirm that. But yeah. So Coleman wins, and it's a very nice scene because at the end of like Mark Kurz is sitting in the shower, he's all alone, and Coleman's sitting in it almost looks like a hotel room, or maybe his change room is just fancy, but like he's sitting alone in his room. He's got the championship trophy behind him, the big fake check, you know, and I can and he's just sitting there alone, right? And they're both alone, and like yeah, it's just a moment of solitude. You know what I'm saying? Where it's just like it's just like I don't know. It's like you give it all you got, and in the end, you're still alone. But like, it's such a weird message because like Mark Coleman isn't alone. He has a very loving family at home, but him sitting there, like he kind of looks like a little disappointed and down on his luck, so to speak. Now that could be from exhaustion from the fight at the tournament fight, right? He fought two times in one night and wins it all, but he's still sitting alone in his room, his change room, with no one, no trainers, no nothing, no celebration going on. So it's kind of a weird way to end it for him in the locker room alone in solitude. And like you have Mark Kerr in the shower alone in solitude too, who's laughing and smiling, and you're kind of just like, well, why are you happy? You know what I'm saying? It's like such a weird juxtaposition of emotions going on, and I'm like, that's weird. But I'm like, what are you trying to tell me here, Safty? You know what I'm saying? And then it ends. This goes cuts to black, and then we go straight to what was it? Oh yeah, like Mark Kerr, like the real Mark Kerr, who honestly I didn't know was even alive, was doing grocery shopping at some like grocery store, and it just blows up some text saying like, Mark Kerr eventually married Dawn, they had a kid, they got divorced, and it's just text on the screen, right? And it goes down being like, Mark Kerr and Mark Coleman are like the pioneers of the MMA and UFC stuff, and like, and no one really remembers who they are and stuff like that. It's just a weird scene to end it on because like why? Like I'm glad the guy's alive and doing well, and he's single or whatever. Like he's just living life, right? He's just a normal dude, and I think that's cool and all. But I'm also kind of like, well, is that how this movie should have ended, right? Like, should we have had a better ending, where it's like, um, you kind of have Mark Kerr, who's no longer a fighter anymore, but like, let's say he sells used cars and he lives off his name as a professional fighter who was victorious in some point in time, and that's his life now. Like he's not necessarily a loser, but like he's living the life that like maybe Mark Coleman, uh, that Mark Coleman lived, right? He has a family, um, even a divorced family, right? Like he still has a child in his life and stuff like that, and he just becomes, this normal dude, right? Like that's it, and that's maybe how it really should have ended instead of this like, hey, yeah, Mark Hurt's still alive. And he shops at a grocery store and he's living a good life. Like, I guess you could go either way. I don't know. Or you don't even show it at all and just end, bam, fade to black at the two people being in solitude. I don't know. I don't know. It's just a food for thought. At least that's what I was kind of thinking. But that's the end. In the end, I do want to point out two things that I forgot to mention, okay? So I do want to say that one, this movie does a really, really, really good job at capturing the late 90s, early 2000s. The people who worked on this movie that did the set building and like the thrifting to find the clothing or even made some of the clothing and find these items and built everything it and like find the vehicles and there's some amazing fits that Kerr is wearing or Dwayne is wearing in these. Like the Nautica outfit is really nice. And I did make a joke to this to my friends. I was like, I do wish that they threw a little Easter egg in here where they showed Mark Kerr wearing the black turtleneck with the fanny pack and the cross over top of it, which is like that old school rock photo. And I was like, and with the denim jeans, and I was like, man, that's a missed opportunity. They could have put that fit in here just for us, just a little wink and a nod. I thought that would have been fun, but they didn't do that. But I just thought that would have been fun. But again, kudos to the people who worked on this movie for sure. And then the makeup effects for the prosthetics alone that were used on Dwayne Johnson to make him look like Mark Kerr, I thought was really well done. The only thing that I noticed, and then maybe it's just me, but I kind of thought Dwayne, his tan kind of changed colors sometimes, and I'm like, what's going on here? But it's just me who notices. But I really thought the prosthetics looked really good. Um, Again, good dialogue scenes and stuff like that. I enjoyed the movie. In general, I enjoyed this film quite a bit. I had a really good time watching this movie. I still think about this movie after the fact, almost a week after the fact. Do I will I watch this movie again? I'd like to. I put this right in the same category as like the Iron Claw. You know what I'm saying? Like I really like the Iron Claw, or even the Wrestler. Like I like the Wrestler. So this goes in that category too. The Smashing Machine. This is a movie that I would probably watch like let's say once every 5 years when I'm just in the mood for it. Now, is it better than like I wouldn't say it's like up there with Rocky or anything like that, but I really appreciated this movie, and it also made me want to watch the documentary. So do I think you should go and see this? Yes, I think you should go see it on the cheap night. Why not? Cheap night it. You'll have a good time, especially if you're interested in the movie. Like if you have an inkling of interest in seeing this movie, go and see it on a cheap night. Now, do I think I will buy this and put it in my collection? I probably will buy this movie. Again, it's right up there with Iron Claw and The Wrestler for me. So I like that. I think I would watch this maybe once every 5 years, maybe even once every 10 years. Depends on how I feel. But I do think I would watch this movie again because I do like the story that it told. And I would like to revisit it at some point in time too. So I probably will buy this movie and put it into the collection. Now, let's just quickly wrap this up with Oscar ideas. Will The Rock get an Oscar nomination? I will say he'll get the nom, but he's not winning. And that depends on the rest of the year, right? Because I think you can get, what, 5 to 6 noms for Best Actor. So I could see him getting a nomination. I also could see Emily Blunt getting a nomination. Um, I could also see probably adaptation nomination, maybe a director nomination, and effect like special like obviously we'll get something for sets and clothing. They should, even though I don't think the Academy really cares too much about the aesthetic design of the 90s, but I think this should get at least a nomination for that because they really painted the world quite perfectly of the late 90s. Yeah, that's all I got to say about this movie now. So I'm done yapping. I'm sure I missed some things. I'll probably look over my notes and go, oh, I didn't talk about how dope Emily Blunt was as Dawn and stuff like that. 'Cause she really was. I really liked her. But yeah, that's it for me for yapping. I hope you enjoyed this. I'm going to be doing this again in the future for other movies and old movies too. I'm just going to start yapping about films. So that's it for me, my friends. Have a good one. I hope you like this. Hit the like button, hit the comments below. Tell me what you thought of the Smashing Machine, if you saw it or not. And hey, even suggest the movie you want me to yap about. I do not care. I will talk about it. And yeah, like, subscribe, notification bell. My lighting, my lighting is the sun normally, and the sun is fading, and I gotta start remembering to turn on lamps so we don't get bad sun in my edits. Oh, I'm so sorry, guys. Oh well. Have a good one, everyone. Don't work too hard. Tuesday, it's Thursday, right? One more day until the weekend. So don't work too hard. Be safe out there. Whatever movie you're watching, I hope you're loving them and digging them. Peace out, everybody. Bye.